Hey everybody, welcome. Hey, Coach here. Hey man, I'm glad you're here, and I know that I'm talking to you right at the very end of October now, right before Halloween. And our subject this week is going to be all about planning the landscape project out. You would do it for a kitchen addition, you would do it if you were building an extra garage, you would do it for a vacation. But many people don't do it when they plan out a landscape project. They just ad hoc it and improvise. We're going to dial it down just a little bit. We've had this before, but we're going to have it again. Some of you can still do landscape projects now, and others are going to have to wait. Hey, let's get this thing going. I'm glad you're here. Hey, I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. Every Friday I bring with me landscape DIY education, concepts and theories, ideas and solutions, so you guys can go out and tackle a landscape project yourself, get professional results, save a whole lot of money in the process, and in this day and age, be a lot more self-reliant. Man, after a 20-plus year career in the green industry, I'm bringing with me a lot of knowledge and experience that I want to share with you guys, the new, modern, educated, self-reliant homeowner of today. So this time of year, if you look around our continent, our country, and many parts of the globe, many people are SOL. They're SOL about starting a landscape project. Some people have sub-freezing temperatures already. Some people have anywhere from a few inches to a couple of feet of snow on the ground, and other people just have their priorities getting shifted a little bit once we edge towards Halloween and some of the other holidays that many celebrate. Well, right now, whether you start or not a landscape project will depend solely on the weather. And this is the time of year, especially as a contractor and a designer, man, my eyes and ears were always to the weather, always. But the difference between me paying attention to the weather and whether I started a landscape project for a client really had to do with, did I have all my ducks in a row? Was my plan, my course of action all in place and ready to go? And every single job that I did, I had a to-do list, and I had a schedule, and I had a schedule that was printed out, and I had a schedule that I hand wrote every single day in the back of my contractor trailer. So not only did I remember exactly what I was doing the very next day, what I accomplished today, but the things that I needed to acquire, when I needed to acquire them, and it kind of showed a real edge of professionalism that in my industry, in the landscape contractor industry, sometimes was missing. Not always, but sometimes. And in that planning phase, there was always the critical steps that I used as a professional in order to launch the project. Some of that was gained from my client, and some of it was from my own experience. And what I want to do with you guys here is I want to go over the big five that every single landscape job cannot launch without. That is, if you want to have a nice, smooth, enjoyable, rewarding project. As a DIYer, one of the easiest ways that you can sleep well at night and be able to take on a landscape project of any size, and that is coming to grips with you and yours over what type of budget are you going to apply to it. The big B, that big hurdle, that almighty dollar amount that you're going to invest into your home and property, once you get past that, you're solid with it, and you know that budget is going to get you a lot, if not all, of the results that you want. You've got the job 50% done. And I'll go into budget a little more detail after I get done with this short 5 list, okay? So budget is number one. Number two is designing the landscape project to meet your budget. Many landscape designers, often design a landscape without a budget in mind because the client is afraid or ashamed or too secretive about what kind of dollars they're willing to invest. So a landscape designer really pulls out all the stops and all the artsy fartsy stuff goes onto that design, and people go, oh my gosh, look at this design. Okay, so this is beautiful. Everything that we've ever dreamed of is right here on this paper. How much is this going to cost? Well, that's going to be $135,000. And the people fall out of their kitchen chairs because it wasn't designed to the budget that these people anticipated on spending, at least spending in one big chunk. So designing to the budget is critical. Number 3 is sourcing. And sourcing is a multi-pronged approach so that you have an idea, number 1, of what things cost, and number 2, where you can attain them. And we'll go over sourcing in great detail in just a second. Number 4 is equipment. What do you have? What can you get? And what do you have to rent? And that whole thing, depending on what your project is going to entail, will be everything from hand tools to power tools to big stuff or to professionals, one or the other. And number 5 is implementation or execution or launch, whatever verb you want to put to it. In any case, after you've done all this preparatory work and you know what needs to be done, it doesn't really mean crap unless you get out and you do it. So implementation is number 5. Okay, let's go into detail just a little bit over each one. Like I pointed out earlier, there's no real sense that goes into designing first and then making up a budget. Because many times in people's minds, when they start thinking about this stuff, they're on Google Images, they're on Pinterest, they're on HGTV and the DIY network, they're driving people's neighborhoods and they're getting all these I want ideas. And then they commit it to a design, and then the big letdown comes when they figure out that since we're doing this ourselves, or even if you're going to hire parts of it out to a professional, it's beyond their financial reach, at least at this time. So there's a two-prong approach for DIYers. Number 1, save it all. Save it until you have the dollars in hand, and then you can cash this project out once and for all. The other approach is being able to do it in phases. Being able to do it in phases as a DIYer is relatively easy. You can break up a project into demolition and soil prep, flat work and underground work, and planting and finishing. And if you broke it up into 3 phases, maybe it's 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. We'll use that hypothetically. And that way, maybe you could afford it over the course of 18 months or whatever. For professionals aren't really in tune that much, especially the small professionals like I was. We want to arrive and take all our equipment, all our time, all our focus, and focus it in on your project. We really don't want to, unless we're a much larger company that has divisions, come in and hit you on Monday, then hit you on the following Monday, and now demolition's done, see you in 6 weeks. That didn't work for me. It might work for some contractors out there. If any contractors are listening to this right now, drop me in a comment and tell me how you approach a medium to large size landscape makeover. Let me know how you do it. What I don't want to see is people going into a huge mountain of debt over a landscape project. Unless, say for instance, you're selling it in 60 days and you need to spruce it up really good, so you're gonna throw 20 grand at it, put a whole bunch of lipstick on it, and then you're gonna sell it. You'll get that 20 grand back and probably more. So it all depends on what your situation and your circumstances are. So remember the almighty budget and how it comes to bear on that. You know, once you go through these big 5, you'll go through parts of your budget, then you're gonna go source stuff. And part of your sourcing is going to feed that budget again. And then once you feed that budget, it's going to plop down to what we're talking about now, and that's the design. The landscape design and designer notes that are going to be needed in order to accomplish, you know, on paper anyway, what the finished product is going to look like. Designing is still fun to me. I love sitting down at a design table with all my rulers and pencils and gear and taking something that looked like befores and you'll make them afters. And that was a hoot. That was a thrill for me. It really was. But if you're doing it as a DIYer, you don't have to be, an art major in college. You really don't. You can have something as fancy as a computer-generated program like Dynascape or Pro Landscape, which is what I used, or you can just do it on a piece of binder or printer paper. As long as it's to scale, and it shows the finished product in a finished size and is accurate to within a foot. For a DIYer, that's plenty. Make sure it's accurate enough that if you're going to hire a professional to do a portion of it, say like the patio or walkways or irrigation, that at least it's accurate enough where you can hand them a copy and say, this is where I want my valves, this is where the lawn's going to be, this is how many heads I think it's going to need, or this is my patio, this is the square footage, this is what needs to be done, and they can give you a good, accurate written estimate based off of your design. And hey, if you don't think that you can put pencil to paper, cool. Hire a good, reputable landscape designer to come in and draw it all up for you, and then educate you on everything that's on that design so that you can take it and implement it. So design to the budget and have a design. 1 and 2. Okay, number 3, sourcing those things. Sourcing those materials and parts and pieces that you're going to need to take it from what it looks like now to the finished product that you have in your mind's eye and down on that design. What are those things? It's going to be a combination of tools, power equipment, maybe big power equipment in some cases, and then all the materials it takes. Your bulk materials, your irrigation parts and pieces, your lighting, your cement, your form boards, everything, whatever you might need in order to take it from landscape zero to landscape hero, plain and simple. And by looking at that, you're really going to educate yourself in depth as far as what today's costs and today's prices come to bear on your project. Now, many people can go out source probably 90% of what you're going to need at any box store. You can. Now, the box stores may not have a real in-depth nursery inventory, except at the height of spring. You may have to go to a specialty nursery, a mom and pop nursery, where you might find all the plants that you want. But hey, by going out there on a Saturday and taking a cup of joe and driving around to the bulk materials yards, the box stores, those kind of places, you're going to learn what a yard of compost is going to cost, whether you can bring it to your house or you have to have it delivered. You're going to find out what yard waste costs are, what do dumpsters cost, those type of things by sourcing everything. And that is a huge hurdle because you don't have to do this anymore. Like, I don't have a clue. Yeah, you do. Now you do. You certainly do. Because you went out there and you saw it, you photographed it, and you wrote it down somewhere in your notes. So you know what a gallon can juniper costs versus a 5-gallon can. You know what a 15-gallon maple costs versus a 24-inch box specimen. And then all of that gets molded into a nice, neat ball, and you hand it off to the budget. Plain and simple. So how do you stretch a budget? Do it from your sourcing. You find out, hey, I can be patient for 6 to 8 months and plant a gallon can plant, and it'll be a 5-gallon plant in the first growing season. Now you just saved yourself something like $40 compared to $10. There's a $30 savings right there. Just a little pro tip. Okay, number 4, we're looking at the equipment. What do you have in the garage or the shed? Who in your circle of influence has what you need, and of those people, would you be able to borrow something? What is at your local rental yard that you're going to need? And who do you have in the professional realm if you needed something big done, something big with some major power equipment, like Bobcat and bigger necessarily? And by going and finding those things, again, you're going to feed the sourcing, which is going to feed the budget, which is going to feed the design. And all these things, this becomes an algorithm that goes up and comes down at the same time. So going out and sourcing that day, if you don't have a lot of long-handled tools, you don't have a pick, you don't have a shovel, well, now's the time to either find one for a few weeks when you're doing the job or buy them. put them in the shed, put them in the garage. You're going to need them again, so you might as well invest in some good quality tools. Don't buy crap. Don't save $5 when you can spend $30 on a great shovel or $15 on sale with a piece of crap that's going to break the first time you try to pry a plant out of the ground. Always buy good stuff. Most of the power equipment, many DIYers and many homeowners only need to rent. Things like rototillers, things like sod cutters, things like chainsaws, those things are okay for some, but aren't needed for all. So you may want to borrow them. Maybe a grandparent or a parent has one that you can go, hey Dad, can I borrow the chainsaw for the weekend? Or you can go to Home Depot or United Rentals or Sunbelt or whatever you have in your area, and you can find those rototillers, sod cutters, chainsaws, mini skid steers, bobcats, whatever it is, even dump trailers, and you can use those and then you take them back. One time, one shot. Okay, wrapping it up, number 5, we're talking about that implementation, that execution, that getting off your ass and starting it. That start date is one of the most critical things that a DIY homeowner who's going to do their own landscape makeover can have. It's the day when you have scheduled up people. Maybe you have family and friends that are going to come over and help you demo the backyard or demo the front yard. And by doing this, especially as a team, you will find your confidence go from here to here in that very first day, especially if you've never done this stuff before. You will find out that it's not always that easy, and you'll find out that it's very rewarding and very tangible in the way of results at the end of that first day. Some people may have a demo that they can do all in one day, provided that you've scheduled everything up and all your materials, equipment, and people are there. You might be able to knock it all out in a day. If you got a bigger place, or if it's just you, pace yourself. Don't burn yourself out. Don't hurt yourself. Just get in and get it done. Some parts are going to be hard. You'll be cussing coach out for days the next morning when you're sore. Make sure you have the proper clothing on. Make sure you have the proper tools for what you're trying to do. Don't try to chop down a 30-foot maple with an axe. Hire an arborist. Let them do it. When you're taking stuff out, make sure you have good technique. You protect your back, you protect your hands, you protect everybody around you, and you work safely. And you work safe and smart and not hard. At the end of the day and throughout the whole project, get psyched up for it. Be mentally and physically prepared for it. Know full well that it's going to be tough at times. Maybe this isn't your wheelhouse and your vocation. That's okay. Think about the thousands and thousands of dollars that you'll be saving that you could put into something else when you get done with this. It may take a week, it may take a month, it might take 6 months, but get in and get it done. This is a cautionary note. For those of you who are going to do this yourselves, and you're going to do it in phases, don't let a lot of time go between one phase to another, especially demolition to site work, grading, and soil amending and underground work. If you let that time sit too long, then you start to get reinfested with weeds and problems, and you got to kind of start over again. So never more than a couple of weeks, and make sure that if you have new weed growth that's starting, get out there after work one day and knock everything down and rake stuff out again. Break the soils up. Make sure you don't end up with a mess. If you get into the trenching for drainage and irrigation and lighting cables and other stuff, electrical, make sure that you kind of do that in all one fell swoop. Don't leave open trenches open, especially front yard projects. You're just opening yourself up to homeowners' liability. Hey, what'd you think? The Big 5, something that you can focus in on. If you're down in the southern tier states or in part of the country where you can still do it, man, this is a great time of year. Man, look at that, the cool temperatures that I'm in right now in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia. My God, we've had a beautiful 58-degree day. We woke up to freezing temperatures this morning, but in some places, this is still very, very workable weather. we're supposed to get rain tomorrow. So we'd have to find out how much and what's the long-term forecast. Where you guys are at, SoCal, Florida, Sunbelt states down there, you guys can still get this stuff done. If you guys are up north and it's really starting to cool off fast, hey, now's the time to plan. Use the whole winter to source things out. Get your equipment lined up. Know what you're going to be doing. If you're subbing some of the stuff out to professionals, get those estimates in writing and be ready to go when everything thaws out and you can go. Guys, thanks for taking the time. Hey, don't forget to check out the podcast. This podcast this week was really kind of special. Yes, it was some of the same topic, but we're also over on the Wisdom app now. Wisdom app that you can actually interact with me and listen and also ask questions at the same time. So hey, next week, check us out. I'd love to hear from you. If you got a little question. Hey, if you guys are interested, go over and check out the website. You know, in the ebook I have, very, very affordably priced, I might add, there's also the landscape planning cheat sheets that I made for you guys. Really help you along as far as taking them out on that Saturday and writing out prices of various things. Maestro reminded me of this and I had actually forgotten it. So don't hesitate to go to the website, check out that ebook, Landscaping Simplified. Hey, until next Friday, to your landscape success and planning, and I'll catch you guys next week. Take care.